Welcome back to the Professor's Lab. I'm Professor V, and this is round 2 of our league tournament that happened at Die Hard Games on January 9th, 2025. If you didn't know, Die Hard League happens every Thursday at 6 p.m. Central, featuring casual and tournament play of whatever format everyone wants. League Challenge, February 13th at 6 p.m., and League Cup, March 1st at 12 p.m. All Central Time, all at Die Hard Games. Go see more info in this video's description and check out Pokemon's event locator for premiere and other events at the shop, such as League Challenges, League Cups, pre-releases, and more. Please hit that like button right quick, subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications, say what you need to say in the comments, and all that other good free stuff. But anyways, let's research this game. On the left, we have Terapagos, Palkia. On the right, we have Gardevoir. Looks like our Terapagos Palkia player was having some trouble finding a basic Pokemon at the start of the game, so they gave their opponent 3 mulligans here, as notated by the die, with the 3 pips face up on the deck on the right hand side. It looks like our player on the left found a basic finally, so the opponent drew their 3 mulligan cards before the start of the game, and now we've got Fan Rotom versus Radiant Greninja currently. Our Terapagos Palkia player is going first for this game, as they play a Nest Ball as their first action. Nest Ball allows the player to look through their deck for a basic Pokemon to add to the bench. Terapagos EX will definitely be the target of this Nest Ball, as we see it hit the bench here. But with this first deck search opportunity, our player is going to look through their deck to kind of get a feel for what's in there and what might be prized. Next, a Hoot Hoot gets put onto the bench from the hand, and Fan Rotom uses its Fan Call ability. Can only be used on the first turn, but when you use it, search your deck for up to 3 colorless Pokemon with 100 HP or less and put them into your hand. So double Hoot Hoot and Noctowl will be found off of this powerful turn 1 only Fan Call ability. To continue to get the cards the player wants in their hand, with the double Hoot Hoot being benched there, triple Hoot Hoot on the bench currently, followed by an Origin Form Palkia V. The bench and board is looking very established for our Terapagos Palkia player on their turn 1, debating on an energy attachment here now for their first turn. I think you do put an energy somewhere, and they're going to go for putting it on the active Fan Rotom. I think this makes sense as Glass Trumpet accelerates to the bench, and then they pass things over to our Gardevoir player on the right hand side. They start things off with the Hisuian Heavy Ball. That item card has you look at your prize cards, and you may swap the Heavy Ball for a basic Pokemon you find there. Looks like Klefki. Final answer? Yep, Klefki is liberated from the prize cards thanks to that Hisuian Heavy Ball. The Heavy Ball gets shuffled into the prize cards. Prize cards get laid back out, face down, of course. Klefki gets added to the hand. Radiant Greninja in the active spot, and we're debating on playing this Earthen Vessel next. Earthen Vessel has you discard a card from hand, which will be the Psychic Energy here. Good, getting Psychic Energy in the discard pile is what the Gardevoir deck likes. And then they can search their deck for up to 2 basic energy cards to add to their hand. It will probably be double Psychic Energy here. Yep, that gets added to the hand. Deck gets shuffled back up, and maybe we're going to see a Radiant Greninja concealed cards next. We'll have to wait and see. Gardevoir EX, of course, once it gets established, has the powerful Psychic Embrace ability that can accelerate Psychic Energy from the discard pile to Psychic Pokemon in play, at the cost of 2 damage counters on that Pokemon per Psychic Energy accelerated. Radiant Greninja discards an energy and draws 2 cards with its Concealed Cards ability. More Psychic Energy in the discard pile, as you can see. I think 2 of them currently. And now we're debating on playing this Ultra Ball. Ultra Ball, the item card, has you discard 2 cards from your hand. Psychic and Klefki being discarded here. Our Gardevoir player is getting lots of psychic energy in their discard pile on their first turn, just like their deck wants them to do. Discard 2 cards, the Ultra Ball does, in order to search the deck for a Pokemon, basic or evolution, and it's going to be the Ultra Ralts that gets seeked out. And it gets put onto the bench here. Can they find another Ralts? They definitely want to, so that way their only Ralts in play isn't being threatened on being KO'd. Technical Machine Evolution, the tool card, gets attached to the active Radiant Greninja. A Drifloon gets put onto the bench from the hand. Psychic Energy gets attached to the active Radiant Greninja, and then Radiant Greninja uses the evolution attack that this tool card now gives Greninja access to. The evolution attack has you target 2 of your bench Pokemon, and you could search your deck for the Pokemon that it evolves to and evolve that Pokemon. Since the Drifloon doesn't evolve in this deck, it's only in this deck for its attack, powerful attack, of course. But the Ralts on the bench does evolve into Kirlia thanks to that Technical Machine Evolution and the evolution attack from that Radiant Greninja in the active spot. The TM Evolution gets discarded at the end of the turn, of course, so I'm sure our player will catch that and get that resolved here. Getting their deck all shuffled up, of course, and play is passed back over to our Terapagos Palkia player on the left-hand side. Keep an eye out for that TM Evolution to get discarded. I'm sure our players will catch that. As our Terapagos Palkia player looks at their hand and debates what's the first best play they can do on their turn 2. They've got a Noctowl in hand, so there's definitely some play in it. Just what do they want to accomplish this turn? They'd love to boss KO that single Kirlia on the bench, but can they do it with their current board? I don't think this is a DTE Double Turbo Energy build of the Terapagos deck. So more pieces will be needed than just a single Double Turbo Energy to attack with a Terapagos at least. As the Noctowl evolves here on the bench, and Noctowl has the Jewel Seeker ability. When it evolves, and if you have a Terra Pokemon in play, they do with that Terapagos EX, you may search your deck for up to 2 trainer cards and put them into your hand. Then shuffle your deck. So our Terapagos Palkia player is searching their deck for the best 2 trainer cards for this turn. Wow, and it's actually going to be the Prime Catcher and the Glass Trumpet. Okay, they may have all the pieces they need for this KO, as Fan Rotom retreats manually into the Palkia V. Glass Trumpet is played next. That item card says choose up to 2 of your bench colorless Pokemon and attach a basic energy card from your discard pile to each of them. So with that, we saw this is the Jewel Seeker here, finding the Prime Catcher and the Glass Trumpet as the 2 trainer cards from that Noctowl. Yes, we saw the Fan Rotom retreat into the Origin Form Palkia V. Glass Trumpet then accelerates a Water Energy to the bench Terapagos EX from the discard pile. Grass Energy gets attached from hand to that Terapagos, and then Prime Catcher, the pink Ace Spec card, is played, bringing up the Kirlia from the bench into the active spot, and then the Terapagos from the bench moves into the active spot as well. Next is Irida. The turn is still not over. Irida, as a supporter for turn, has the player search their deck for an item card and a water-type Pokemon to add to their hand. Origin form Palkia V-Star will be the water-type target, and the Ultra Ball will be the item target, getting added to our player's hand here. Origin form Palkia V-Star evolves on the bench, and then Terapagos EX attacks with its Unified Beatdown attack. If you go second, you can't use this attack on your first turn. That's not relevant here, but this attack does 30 damage for each of your bench Pokemon. So we've got 5 bench Pokemon, 150 damage, more than enough to KO the opposing Kirlia, the only Kirlia on the other side of the field for the first prize card of the game. Radiant Greninja waddles into the active spot on the right hand side and play resumes there. How can our Gardevoir player respond? For starters, they need a Buddy Buddy Poffin, or at least 2 Ralts in play. So they're going to start things off with a Earthen Vessel. Remember that item card has the player discard a card from hand in order to search the deck for 2 basic energy cards. And they're actually letting go of a Kirlia here, the League Hollow Kirlia, to search the deck for 2 psychic energy to add to the hand. And wonder what else is in the hand in order to get the Ralts established. I guess there is a Radiant Greninja concealed cards, and that's incoming now. Discarding an energy, drawing 2 cards. Okay, those were like the perfect 2 cards. Buddy Buddy Poffin and Artisan found off of that well-trained Radiant Greninja there. Buddy Buddy Poffin being played here in order to search the deck for up to 2 basic Pokemon with 70 HP or less. Double Ralts being found and hitting the board here. Another TM evolution would be great. And that would have been even better of being held on to after the opponent's last turn. But you have to force your opponent to have it. As an Artisan Stadium card is put into play, that allows the player to search their deck for a basic Pokemon with no rule box to put onto their bench. I think you're pretty safe against the Terapagos Palkia deck. But I guess, your bench Pokemon are safe against that. But you never know how Radiant Greninja could pop out of nowhere with the Origin Form Palkia V-Star in play and its V-Star power ability. So with Artisan, the player is going to find that Manaphy with the Wave Veil ability. That prevents attack damage from being done to bench Pokemon on their side. Now we've got some insurance that our Ralts can't be sniped on the bench. And is that it for their turn? I think they did a pretty good job at restabilizing after the last turn, considering how their start was. Let's see, they can attach an energy per turn if they want to. I don't know if they really want to, though. Doing a psychic energy count in the discard pile, of course. Got a Turo in hand. They could Greninja again if they wanted, but they're going to go for a Super Rod to shuffle back into the deck from the discard pile some resources. Double Kirlia will be shuffled back into the deck. You probably want this Ralts, but nope, gonna actually try to increase their consistency in finding those Kirlia on the next turn by just shuffling the 2 Kirlia back in, leaving the Ralts in the discard pile for now, since there are already a couple of Ralts in play. Thanks to that Super Rod and its recursion. And they are going to go for this Turo. That is their supporter for turn. The Professor Turo's Scenario supporter card allows the player to put a Pokemon in play into their hand. all cards that were attached to it get discarded. So they get another Psychic Energy in the discard pile, and the Radiant Greninja goes to the hand. Now they must promote a new active Pokemon. They were debating on the Drifloon, and the Drifloon does float into the active spot now. Radiant Greninja hits the board again, and since it's treated like a new Pokemon now, it can use concealed cards again, basically, to discard an energy card and draw 2 more cards. Okay. Not too much more going on in the hand right now as they're inspecting their opponent's board, trying to download as much info as they can in order to better inform their next decision, which may just be a pass. They've got a Nest Ball in hand. They can establish another Ralts if they really want to, but then their bench will be full. I guess you can assume the opponent will take a KO on the next turn. So maybe you don't care too much about the bench being full here, as they do decide on playing the Nest Ball. And they're eyeing up, okay, that Pheasantipity EX to keep cycling through their deck. The opponent did take a KO on their last turn. So Pheasantipity EX's Flip the Script ability is online. If the opponent took a KO on their last turn, then you can draw 3 cards with that ability. Pheasantipity EX does flip the script here to draw 3 cards. We've got a supporter for next turn in that Arvin. And just a pass back over to our Terapagos Palkia player on the left-hand side. They've got a KO ready on board as they're dealing 150 damage. Remember with that Terapagos EX Unified Beatdown. Now they just need to build their board and better establish their dominance so far in this game. Remember, never count Gardevoir out of a game. Ultra Ball discards 2 water energy in order for the player to search their deck for a basic or evolution Pokemon. Water energy in the discard pile is just fine with that Palkia V-Star in play and its Star Portal V-Star power ability that can accelerate water energy from the discard pile. Noctowl now evolves on the bench here. Jewel Seeker, its ability gets activated since there's a Terra Pokemon in play in order to search the deck for 2 trainer cards. Judge and Area Zero are the trainer cards to be found off of Jewel Seeker this time. Area Zero Underdepths gets put into play. That Stadium card says if a player has a Terra Pokemon in play, their bench size goes from 5 to 8. So the Terapagos EX and its Terra attribute now opens up this side, the left side of the field, to 8 bench spots. And then a Judge is a supporter per turn. That supporter has both players shuffle their hands into their deck and then draw 4 cards each from the top of their deck. The Great Equalizer and Disruptor is what our Terapagos Palkia player is hoping for. There are currently no Kirlia on the other side of the field. There is a Flip the Script Pheasantipity EX in play, along with the Radiant Greninja, so this in theory isn't the worst judge for our Gardevoir player, but still forcing the opponents to have the answers to the questions. As Judge is resolved here, both players getting 4 cards in hand, and a Nest Ball is played next for our player on the left, allowing them to search their deck for a basic Pokemon to put onto the field, and it will be a backup Terapagos EX here. This is good in case the active Terapagos gets knocked out. It'd be a backup and still allow the bench to be 8 with that Area Zero Underdepth, so long as it's still in play. Backup Origin Form Palkia V being put onto the bench now. The bench is at 7. So next the Buddy Buddy Poffin is played to search the deck for that 70 HP Hoot Hoot. It gets put onto the bench for future use with Jewel Seeker. Noctowl's Jewel Seeker, of course. And then Unified Beatdown for more than enough damage to KO the opposing Drifloon. Does that Terapagos EX. Manaphy flops into the active spot on the right-hand side, and play resumes there. How can our Gardevoir player respond? Double Curlia would be nice, but TM Evolution, we're getting there slowly but surely. Gets attached to the active Manaphy. Alright, not bad. Not a bad judge. Darkness Energy gets attached to that Manaphy as well. And Iono is played. That supporter card has both players shuffle their hands, put them at the bottom of their deck, and they both get cards from the top equal to their remaining prize cards. 4 and 6 for our players here. Some disruption to our Terapagos player. Next is flip the script, since there was a KO on the last turn, drawing 3 more cards for our Gardevoir player. As they consult their discard pile to see what's in there and better inform their next move of discarding an energy and drawing 2 cards with Radiant Greninja and its Concealed Cards ability. Plenty of psychic energy in the discard pile currently for our Gardevoir player. They just need to now further establish their bench and board, as Manaphy does just that. The Technical Machine Evolution tool, remember, gives it access to the Evolution attack, and both of the Ralts on the bench are targeted to evolve into Curlia for next turn. And play resumes over on our left-hand side here with our Terapagos Palkia player as they attach a Grass Energy to the bench, Terapagos EX, and try to navigate their way through the Iono that happened on their opponent's turn. They've got a KO already on board, and they're going to use Boss's Orders now. That powerful supporter can bring a Pokemon on the opponent's side that was on the bench into the active spot, and that Pheasantipity EX will be targeted here. Come into the active spot, Pheasantipity. You're worth 2 prize cards compared to the Manaphy's 1. And there's 8 Pokemon on the bench, meaning that Terapagos is doing 240 damage with its Unified Beatdown. More than enough to KO the 210 HP Pheasantipity EX for 2 prize cards, and we see just that. 2 prize cards remaining for our Terapagos player here as Manaphy flops into the active spot on Gardevoir's right-hand side, and play resumes there. Will we see the comeback here? With the disruption of Iono or Unfair Stamp, while Gardevoir floods the board with energy. Let's see it here. It starts with this Super Rod. Shuffling back into the deck, a Drifloon and a Darkness Energy from the discard pile. Looks like that's going to be it for the Super Rod. We're debating on bringing back or shuffling back in the Ralts again, but decide against it again, as a Buddy Buddy Poffin is played now to search the deck for up to 2 basic Pokemon with 70 HP or less. Drifloon will be one of the targets of the delicious Poffins here. And that's it, as that Monkey Dory gets put onto the bench from the hand now. Darkness Energy gets attached to that Monkey Dory, activating its Adrenabrain ability. If it has a Darkness Energy attached to it, you may move up to 3 damage counters from one of your Pokemon to one of your opponent's Pokemon once per turn. That Monkey Dory Adrenabrain does. Bravery Charm is going to be attached to that Drifloon, giving it plus 50 HP. Ultra Ball will be played now, discarding a couple cards in order to search the deck for probably that Gardevoir EX. There we go. Each of the Curlia on the bench have the Refinement ability to discard a card and draw 2 cards, so we may see double Refinement be used before a Gardevoir is evolved here. It just depends on what's in our player's hand and their strategy. Alright, Refinement number 1 being debated upon here. Just depends on if they've got something they can let go of in their hand, something they can discard. It looks like there's not a very big hand and pretty important cards there. I think they need to start putting some aggression on this turn, with the opponent having only 2 prize cards remaining. Alright, refinement number 1, discarding Monkey Dory, drawing 2 cards. Gardevoir, or that Kirlia evolves into Gardevoir. Psychic Embrace is online now. And next is Iono. Yep, they were eyeing up the Arven, but I think you have to, like, if you're going to win this game, you have to win by 1, disrupting your opponent. So Iono, both players shuffle their hands, put them at the bottom of their deck, and then draw cards from the top. The Terapagos player gets 2 cards, since they have 2 prize cards remaining, while the Gardevoir player gets the full 6. Refinement number 2, discarding a Kirlia to draw 2 more cards. $230, 122. They can't knock out the Terapagos with its 230 HP very easily with the Gardevoir EX, but they can with the Drifloon, if that's what they end up wanting to do for the turn. So yes, Psychic Embrace, that Gardevoir accelerates psychic energy from the discard pile to that Drifloon. It's got more HP, plus 50 HP thanks to the Bravery Charm, so it can handle more Psychic Embraces. And then remember, 2 damage counters go on to the Drifloon for every Psychic energy accelerated to it, so it would have 5 damage counters on it, or excuse me, 10 damage counters on it currently, with the 5 energy being accelerated. Manaphy manually retreats into that heavily damaged Balloon Bomb here. There's the 10 damage counters on that Drifloon, and then Drifloon, of course, has the Balloon Blast attack. This attack does 30 damage for each damage counter on this Pokemon, so 300 damage that Drifloon can deal currently. Got the KO on the active if they want it. Oh, and we also have a Monkey Dory Adrenabrain. That's pretty nice, since 300 was overkill on this 230 HP Terapagos. So Adrenabrain, the Monkey Dory with the Darkness energy, will move 3 of those damage counters from the Drifloon to the bench Terapagos on the other side. And what, 6, 7, 8. 8 times 3 is 24, right? Yep, so 240 is enough still to KO the opposing Terapagos. That Drifloon can. And setting up a future KO on the threat on their opponent's side of the field, the backup threat on their opponent's side of the field. So Drifloon, Balloon Blast, KO the opposing Terapagos EX for the first 2 prize cards for them in this game. The Origin Form Palkia V-Star stomps into the active spot on the left-hand side, and play resumes there. How can the Terapagos Palkia player continue to capitalize on their lead? Or can the Gardevoir player claw their way back into this game? As our Terapagos player consults their discard pile, seeing what's in there to get a clue on what is the best thing to do next. The opponent takes a look at the discard pile, trying to see what their opponent has access to. There is an attack and a KO, so Night Stretcher will bring back a Grass Energy from the discard pile to the player's hand. That gets attached to the bench Terapagos EX. And then Origin Form Palkia V-Star uses its Star Portal V-Star power ability to accelerate 3 water energy from the discard pile to water-type Pokemon. So 2 of them go on to the active Origin Form Palkia V-Star, powering up its Subspace Swell attack, and the 3rd water energy goes onto the bench, Palkia V. And an Iono gets played. Both players shuffle their hands, put them at the bottom of their deck, and draw cards from the top equal to their remaining prize cards, 2 and 4, here in this mid-game slash endgame. Origin form Palkia V-Star Subspace Swell attack does 60 plus 20 more damage for each of your bench Pokemon. So anything else for our Palkia player to do before the attack that more than KOs the heavily damaged opposing Drifloon? Let's see. There's double Hoot Hoot on board, but I don't know if there's any knocked out in hand or way to find it. So basic switch, aha, actually moves the Terapagos from the bench to the active spot, and it takes the KO with Unified Beatdown on the heavily damaged Drifloon. Gardevoir EX glides into the active spot on the right hand side, and play resumes there. Gardevoir will have the KO on this opposing Terapagos. Artisan gets put into play. Aha, that's what they're doing. I was kind of confused for a second. So the Artisan, remember there can only be one stadium card in play. If there's already one in play, when you play another one, you discard the one that was in play. So the Artisan discarded the Area 0 Underdepths. Since we're no longer in the Underdepths anymore, bench sizes go back to 5. So the players have to discard from their bench until they have 5 remaining. That's what our Terapagos player was doing here. Of course, leaving the double Hoot Hoot and their evolution potential on board, along with the energy in the attackers. Artisan is played, or excuse me, Arven is played next as a supporter per turn. That supporter allows the player to look through their deck for a tool and an item card to add to their hand. They're immediately eyeing up that Unfair Stamp, the pink card, as well as the Bravery Charm. They get added to the hand here. I'm actually going to rethink things before giving our final answer. Now going for the Super Rod and Bravery Charm. Final answer for our Arven here. Super Rod is played next to shuffle back into the deck from the discard some resources. Drifloon, of course. Target number 1 for this Super Rod. The Drifloon can come back out very easily with that Artisan. But first, Super Rod shuffles it back into the deck. Bravery Charm goes into the hand, of course. I don't think, yeah, no, Artisan was not used this turn. So our Gardevoir players simply cannot just KO the active with the Drifloon, for example. They'd have to KO probably with that Gardevoir. Since the opponent only has one prize card remaining, the Drifloon can be KO'd very easily for that last prize and the win. So they've got to put something with more HP in front of the opponent. So they use Psychic Embrace to accelerate 3 Psychic Energy from the discard pile, or 2 Psychic Energy from the discard pile. To the active Gardevoir EX, it gets 4 damage counters on it, of course, for accelerating 2 Psychic Energy to itself with Psychic Embrace. Kirlia now discards Eralts in order to draw 2 more cards. Darkness Energy found and slammed onto that Gardevoir EX, fully powering up its attack for 2 Psychic Energy and a Colorless Energy. It deals 190 damage, but combined with that Monkey Dory Adrenabrain we're seeing right now, 3 of those damage counters can come off of that Gardevoir and be put on the opponent's side of the field. I think we're resolving Monkey Dory's Adrenabrain currently to move 3 damage counters off of the active Gardevoir EX and put them onto the opponent's bench Origin Form Palkia V. Okay, and then they attack the opposing Terapagos EX with 190 damage, bringing it up to 210 damage on it total. 20 remaining on that Terapagos EX, and they're setting up for the 4 prize turn next turn if the opponent can't get through this Gardevoir. With 3 cards in hand, there was a Night Stretcher in hand, so they have access to a Noctowl. So would that just be game if you Night Stretcher back the Noctowl, evolve and search for boss's orders and KO a 1-prizer on the opponent's bench? Just depends on the boss count, what the player's strategy is, and if they see that line, which I think they would if they had it available. The suspense is killing me as our Terapagos player looks at their hand and tries to figure out the best play to either win this turn or prevent the opponent from winning on their next turn. And a boss's orders would win the game on the opponent's next turn. Counter Catcher works as well, and they've got it in hand, so the opponent has game in hand if the Terapagos Palkia player doesn't disrupt their hand or win this turn. So they're actually going to go for an Earthen Vessel. Was there a boss's orders in deck? I'm curious now. This video is probably going to be long enough, so I won't go back in time and make you watch me watch for the boss's orders in deck. I'm kind of looking now. I don't think I see it. Maybe this deck doesn't even play bosses, or there was a boss played earlier, right? Either way, enough philosophical speculation from me now, as the Earthen Vessel discards a card to search a deck for 2 basic energy. Double water found, I think, there off of that Earthen Vessel. Yeah, I'm pretty sure just boss in deck would have won the game for our Terapagos player, because they could have recovered a Noctowl, evolve, use Jewel Seeker to find that boss's orders, and take the KO on a weak bench Pokemon with the active Terapagos, but that must not have been available. So what can our Palkia Terapagos player do aside from just attack? The attack will not get the KO on the opposing Gardevoir with 300 HP that Gardevoir currently has. The Palkia, Origin Form Palkia, I don't even think could get there with the 5 Pokemon bench. So the heavily damaged Terapagos EX retreats to the bench, putting up a 1-prize Hoot Hoot in the active spot. Water energy gets attached to the bench Terapagos EX, and now I think our Gardevoir player on the right-hand side just has to go through the motions to take this game down. As they consult their discard pile, they accelerate 2 energy to the bench Kirlia with Psychic Embrace, only just to get the damage counters on it so they can be moved over with Monkey Dory's Adrenabrain. 3 damage counters move from the Kirlia to the heavily damaged Terapagos EX, cleaning up the KO on it for 2 prize cards. Counter Catcher now being played. If the opponent has fewer prize cards remaining, you can play that Counter Catcher. Acts like a boss's orders on an item card to bring up the damage benched Palkia V. It's got 19, 20, 21, 20. It's got 190 damage, or 190 HP left on it. And guess how much Gardevoir deals with its attack? 190 damage. for the last 2 prize cards, 4 prize cards taken on the Gardevoir players. Last turn for the game. What a game. What do you think of this video and the commentary? Please leave feedback in the comments. Like this video, subscribe to this channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time in the Professor's Lab.